Hey everybody, it's Rabid for Unbreakable Gamers here. Today I'm going to do a video about the basics of building ships in StarMade. Before we get started, I'm going to suggest that you view and bookmark a couple of sites for future reference. First of all is the StarMade Wikipedia, or the StarMadepedia.net. This is the official StarMade wiki, as what it says up here in the banner. Important part of games that a lot of people overlook, especially in a game like this, is you really need to read the manual. You need to understand that it makes the game much easier than jumping in feet first and having no idea. Going through a site like this, you can see the statistics for various systems and things, including maths. If you're Asian level sort of in that department, you'll have a lot of fun. But yeah, as you can see, it also explains things like here in the case of power reactors, the 3D building, where building in an XYZ combination actually will give you more power. The second site I'd suggest doing is StarMadeCrafting.com. This site lists every block in the game and what you need to make it, including the factory type, as well as more information if you click on the actual block, like its default price, its hit points, and again what you need to make it from beginning to end. So yeah, check out sites like that. It will come in very, very handy. But anyway, on with the tutorial. I'm going to be doing this in creative mode. It just makes life easier as it gives access to all the blocks. Okay, so what you're going to need to do is power reactor, power capacitor. We'll go with some basic hull. Let's get some thrust, and although they'll be added automatically when I spawn it in ship core, and a faction block. I'll be going over the basic commands for building and just how to get a very basic ship up and running. So when you're in the game, you press X to spawn in a ship core. In here you can give it any name you want. By default it'll go with your username, add a bunch of numbers on the end at random to prevent you, because you can't have two ships with the same name in the game. So we'll call this Bogan A1 and hit enter, and then you have a ship core. Unless I said it already, it's X to spawn the ship core. If you ever need a quick glance at what the keys are for the game, press / and it'll bring up a brief list of the most commonly used keys. Mine may not match yours as I have them rebound, so I won't go into too much about the actual keys. If you need to rebind your keys, go into controls here, keyboard, and scroll down, and it's as simple as, say, clicking that and then pressing a key. Okay. Well, now we've got our ship core here, and you will notice there's a prompt there to press the key to enter it. Now, a lot of blocks will have this, makes life a lot easier. So in my case, it's the divide key, which is commonly known as / on the numpad. So we hit that, and we're in the ship, and the ship by default will start off in build mode. Spacebar will get you in between flight mode and build mode. Now, I always suggest carrying more than one ship core on you, in case you run into a pirate station, a hostile player, a sun, various things that can destroy your ship and can leave you stranded. Sometimes you may just accidentally eject yourself from the ship and watch your ship as it flies off thanks to Newtonian physics, and a ship core is a good way to catch back up to it and get back on board. So yes, always carry those with you. They're very handy because, as you can see, you can sort of fly around in them. Top speed's 100 meters a second. But yeah, we'll get into more about thrust and the dynamics of the game as we go. Okay, so into build mode we go. You'll see on the left here we have a bunch of statistics. The ship core comes with the same power. As you can see, it's currently regenning, taking its time. Things like thrust, shields, as you can see, 0 shields. You have things on, which usually on the left side is the capacity of the system you're adding, as well as its recharge rate, which will show up on this side, along with your dimensions, the mass of how many blocks. Every block has different mass to it, so that can have a big impact on your ship. A heavier ship will obviously move and turn slower, despite the Newtonian physics. It's just how the game works. But video games, they're about escaping reality, not living in it, so we can allow for that. Okay. Now, a bare basic ship requires at least two things, and that is a ship core and a thruster. Now, as you can see, you just scroll on your hotbar to select the block you want. You need to have the blocks on your hotbar, so you open up your inventory, drag it down, and it'll be added there. If it's not on the hotbar, you can't build with it. Now that ship there, if you see how fast my ship core is accelerating, now it'll take off like a bullet and get a massive speed, because obviously smaller ships are faster and nimble, where bigger ones are slower. Okay. Now it's very, very much like Minecraft in a sense. You look at what you want to, where you want to put the block, and you hit left mouse button and right mouse button to delete while looking at the box. There is also some advanced tools over here that I'll go into shortly. Now, something very important with this game is the measurements for a block is in meters. Your pilot is about 2 meters tall, or 2 blocks tall. You need, as you can see, it's spawned me on top of the cube. Sometimes it'll put you in front or behind. It depends a lot on how you have the blocks set up around your core. The core is basically the heart of your ship. Now, if you want to fly your ship, you've got to be able to get into the core. So let's get back in there. So I suggest when you build, you leave a 2-block space around your core, at least front and back and sides, even maybe the top. Not so bad on the bottom, but even then I would suggest if you're going to do it on the bottom, leave at least 1 block, because yeah, if you spawn out and your pilot's this tall and you have blocks that close to the core, you're going to spawn into them. If you completely seal your core off, you're not going to be able to get into it, so you need to make sure you can access that, because yeah, as I was saying, without it your ship is basically dead in the water. Okay, so to get a basic ship going, as you saw, all you need is a reactor that generates power, and a thruster that obviously is the engine, so that propels your ship forward. But over here we have the advanced build mode, and we can expand on what we can do with the ship using this. Over here we have block down or 2, and we have remove mode. Now remove mode can make it easier to remove blocks, because as you can see now, got a red highlighter, and you can sort of like carve out things with those. Of course, if you hit left mouse button, it still puts some blocks down, and you hit the right mouse button. Here we have the Lighten Mode. As you can see, if you look at the ship core and the block, everything gets lighter. This is a bit good, because as you work on the inside of a ship, things can get very, very dark. Lighten Mode can make it easy to see. I don't really like it myself, because while the block's easy to see here, sometimes it can actually wash out the colours and make it like remove shadows and depth, so it can be very, very hard to have depth perception to see that you're removing the right blocks. I suggest getting lights and putting those down. It naturally lights the interior of the ship then, and you can, I think, much better for building. You can just remove them as you no longer need them. Centre of mass, it actually shows the centre of mass. As you can see, centre of mass now is between those 2 blocks. If we remove that, it's now centre of mass is on the core. Next we have is these, they're advanced building, that's your build area. As you can see by now, we've got 1 block. If I moved it up to 40, we can now do a row of 40 blocks. And as you can see, the centre of the ship mass has moved, which is important to know where that is for the manoeuvrability of your ship. So yeah, you got your up and down, your sideways, and back to front, forward and back. You got your undo button down here. which undoes things. Redo button redoes things. Now be careful with this because you only get so many undos. I'm not 100% sure, but I think you might be able to go into your system config and edit how many undos you get. You can also go into your config and look for the build mode settings, and you can actually increase and decrease the build area you've got. By default, I think something really low like 10, but you can make it 1,000,000 if you want to. But yeah, be aware, the bigger your build area, the more stress it can put on a computer. If you try spawning in like a 500 block by 500 by 500, then it could put a strain on your computer, especially once you get into the symmetry modes that I will go into down here. Slab mode here applies to different types of hull, can do some things like glass doors as well, but essentially now it won't do wedges or computers. It's just, you can just basically slab the blocks that you need. As you can see now, I've got a thinner block, but the stats are still the same for that block. It has the same mass, the same cost to produce, the same strength and hit points. So all it is a decorative effect, but it can be much nicer than having chunky blocks when you're building, and it basically gives you 4 shapes. As you can see, I was rotating that block. That's done by the mouse wheel, so you can position the blocks where you want. The red side just makes it easy to see which way your block's facing, especially when it's in a cube form. And as you can see, you've got various different shapes for building for your hulls and things. So you know, you get a bit creative. This is called wedging. You can actually make the ship less blocky and Minecraft your Lego looking by wedging corners and things. Okay. Next we have is the build modes, the symmetry modes. What this does is essentially mirror modes what you're building. If I put down a block here along the plane, you can see it's just one block, but if I build a block on either side of that plane, it then mirrors on the other side. Great if you want to build a ship and make sure it's 100% symmetrical. This can be applied to all planes. And so yeah, now with those, as you can see now, it'll build on the opposite side to the plane. It makes building very, very fast, especially when you use combined with the build area. So if you can see, if I go 13 that way, bang, it does a big 13 block line either side. To uncheck those, you just hit unset. This is a good thing to remember, because sometimes you will want to do, say, like I want to do a bit of symmetry building up here. So I'm like, oh yeah, building a little room on this part of my ship. You know, as you can see, it makes life much faster to do that. But that's the only place I want that. But oh no, I've forgotten to turn the symmetry mode off. And then you start going to go, oh well, I'm going to build up here. I need another room down here. But I've forgotten to turn the other plane symmetry mode off. So what we do now is we end up with blocks floating in space like that. So it's always a good idea to remember to turn your planes off. So many people spend hours building to realise that they've accidentally built where they didn't want to be. Okay. Another important thing to remember is, as you can see, when I enter and exit the ship core, there's a big arrow that tells you which direction your ship is facing. It's important to know that for the simple fact that I have seen a lot of people build their ships back to front, because as you can see, the ship core and most of the blocks are the same on every side, so it can be confusing and get lost. Once you start getting the basics of your ship down there, it's easy to tell. But there is no refunds, you know. Once you've got your ship core in, you cannot turn it around or move it. It's stuck where it's stuck. So if you find that you've actually built your ship backwards, then you're basically screwed. It's hard to do because the same thing, everything basically spawns facing forward, as you can see by the arrow. You know, thrusters are quite clear because there's the back of the thruster, there's the front of the thruster, so you know, pay attention to that sort of stuff. Next we have is load and copy. Now, what those keys do is, say you build a section like this, and you want to repeat it, well, if you click load, change the shape and size of your block. Go 3 by 3 because to cover that area. As you can see now, it's still in build mode. If I click like that, it'll put down a slab. What I want to do is go click copy, and now you see it'll highlight the area. If I click that, that's now saved in there. If I click paste, now with the mouse wheel, I can scroll it around and paste it down. If I hold down the control key and do that, you can see now it scrolls the other way. Ignore that block in the middle, that's just to show you the block type. As you can see, it did the actual L there. Yep, and click paste mode and it reverts back to normal build. The great thing about this too is you can click save. You type in the name and it will save that piece. That's so you can create templates. As you can see, you go load and then you can actually build different stuff and save it. Here's a optimized power cube. If I click paste, that saves me having to manually do it by hand. And then, as you can see, as long as you've got build mode selected, you can basically build and keep pasting as much as you want, as long as you have the resources in your inventory. Okay, and yeah, undo the paste mode. Now, we'll skip create docking for now. We have the build helper. What the build helper does is, as it sounds, it helps you build. But the particularly shapes. Say I want to make a ring of blocks. I click the build helper. As you can see, you can restrict the movements, that because what it'll do is it'll draw an outline of the shape you want to do, but you'll only be able to build in that area. Now if you've got no other blocks to sort of build off of, you won't be able to build, so leave that until you sort of understand how it works. You got various shapes, like there's a circle, click OK, just pick how big your radius you want your radius to be. This will actually double whatever you put in, so if you put 5, the radius will actually be 10, or should I say the diameter will be 10, and there you go. You click on a block and there you go, it's now centered, and as I said, this is a good way to get an idea of the shape that you're trying to build without any difficulty, like so. And it has yeah, a couple of different shapes there. Again, this is where the symmetry modes help, because you can fill in the blocks as you go on the entire thing, get it filled in much faster. But as I was saying, if you select only fill the area, you need something like this, because once you've got that selected, you can't build outside of it, and without having another block to click on. I mean, once you've got the block there, you can remove these ones. But as you see, as I build, the circle starts coming together, or as good as a circle can be. And then, as I was saying, as you can see, it's a very blocky look, so that's when you can click like that and sort of smooth out the edges a bit. Okay, and as you can see, yeah, build mode may run out. There we go. Yeah, so build mode's run out, and then you just click clear helper. If you've got it in restricted mode, click not restricted to remove the restriction while keeping the template there. Okay, we've got odd symmetry mode. Now if you see, if I click that, the planes move. Odd symmetry mode is, at the moment, it's the middle of the block that I've selected. This is ideal if you want to make sure like everything on your ship's centered. You make and got a single line down it, so that way if you say want turrets along the top of it, they'll all be in a row. If you go odd symmetry mode, it then goes along the edge of the block. Turn off this plane so you can see it. As you can see there, see now it's, and like normal, so you'll put the block on either side of that plane, whereas with odd symmetry mode, if I had clicked there, it would put it there. So something else important to keep in mind when you're building. What next? Oh, the remove replace filter. This is another tool that's very handy. for building. What you do is you click the build helper. No, not the build helper. Remove replace filter. Now you take a look at the block that you want to remove. In this case I've just put down a thruster, but I don't want that thruster there. Now once you've got a few hundred thrusters, it can be a pain in the butt trying to delete them all. Or you may find, oh, you've accidentally put down cannon modules when you meant to put down missile modules. This will make life much easier. You click there, you type in what the block type that you want to remove. This can also help if you've built a ship and you don't want to strip into it, because to get to the internal workings you can just delete all of a particular block type by doing this. If you leave it as it is, it'll just remove that module when you click OK, and then click in an area, it'll only remove that module and nothing else. So in this case, the thruster. So if I click, like say, let's surround that, and then go remove mode. As you can see, normally that would delete all the blocks, but as I clicked it, it's only removed the thruster block. Again, we'll do it again, but this time with the replace with active slot. So thruster, replace with active slot, and then we'll pick a block, whatever block we pick down here, go like that. And if I right click it, it replaces it with the block type that I've got selected. So, you know, in this case, faction block, or I can right click it, bang, it's replaced with power. That saves you a lot of deleting and re-pasting, especially when you start building large. And again, it'll keep clearing, and nothing but, like, see, I cannot delete the grey hull. I have to uncheck it to do that. And that's essentially the basics to the building. Mirror cubes, we've got to check that out too. That is just basically when you look in a mirror, things are well, mirrored. You know, if you look in a mirror, you don't see yourself as you appear, you get flipped around in it. So this is essentially the same deal. Let's get a computer here to make it easier. Oops. Excuse my typing. Okay, scan a computer. That will do. Oh no. Let's go. Astrotech computer. Okay. Now, set the symmetry plane again. Now, normally when you put a block down in symmetry mode, you can see they're both one on the other side. They look identical. But if we don't have mirror cubes on, and we put a block down, but we want it facing a direction, especially with weapons computers, because the way this game works, it's not where you point your modules, or the cannon barrels for example, it's the way the arrow faces. So if I put it that way, and I wanted like two Astrotech computer cannons, or beams, as you can see they're both facing the same way. Now if I put down some Astrotech modules, which is what you need for these. I'll go into weapons and more and hooking them up and things in my next video. Yeah, if I put down these modules, even though they're facing this way, they're going to fire that way, because that is the way the computers can go. So if I had two different computers with weapons hooked up, now if I fire this one, that's also going to fire that way because that's the way it's facing. So what we need is the mirror mode, go mirror cubes. Now when I face it that way, put it down, you can see now they're actually reflections of each other, and this one will fire that way and that one will fire this way when I hook them up and fire them. So that's very helpful for that. Most blocks like wedges will automatically mirror. I mean, if you can see, you think, oh yeah, you know, being a wedge it would need to mirror, but if you turn that off, as you'll see, it mirrors on its own. It is just things for like computers and decorative blocks. Things basically with screens or texture that's different to another one, like, you know, the computer, this Astrotech module here. You know, put it down, see they're facing the same way. mirror mode on, now they're facing opposite directions. And that's what that's for. Now to get your basic ship going, as I showed before, power reactor and thrust. As you can see, you do not need to have things connected. Once you've got them started, you can remove things, have gaps, so you can get some nice little effects, like if say you wanted to do something like in those in Halo 4, Halo 5, the Forerunners, where they have the sort of like Rayman type spaceships with the no connection between the joints. You can sort of go for that look. But as I said, you need power. Very important. No power, you can't run anything. As you can see, I've put that down, my recharge there goes up. These power reactors, that's what they do, is they regenerate your power. They supply the power. Same with the thrusters. Let's select the thrusters, pull those down, and as you can see now my thruster's gone up. And the thing is though, once you start ending weapons and things, you need to sort of store power, and that's what these things here are. They're power capacitors. They're basically like fuel tanks, or your batteries, where they store the power. So you put them in a row, and as you can see now my power is firing up because it's got somewhere to store the extra juice that I'm generating on top of the ship core's power. So obviously the more of those you have, the more storage space you have, and as you can see it's going up, but how fast that fills up depends on how many of these I've got. Now there is a complicated system for the reactors. They have a bonus. A lot of systems in this game have a mechanic to them, like for example the power storage here. Now if I put those down there, I'm actually getting a bonus because it's one big tank. If you look at my power usage, it's 74,000. If I take these out and then go like this, and have now divided it into two tanks, you can see I don't get as much power as I did with it in one big tank. Bang, so it goes up. So you get a bonus for building like that. The same with the power reactors, but as I said, that's a more complicated system. I'll get into that in more depth in another video when I cover on the system mechanics. But yeah, that's essentially how you build a ship. I mean, once you've got your thrust and things, you can start adding hull. That's important. That offers protection depending on the hull type. I mean, you've got 3 types of hull. You've got your grey hull, which is what I've been using there. Your standard armour and your advanced armour, and each one has a different strength rating as well as weight. That standard armour, that's the next one up, that's heavier than hull but it's stronger than hull. Then you've got your advanced armour, which is again stronger than standard armour and heavier than standard armour. This offers the best hull protection. But it is much heavier, so if you build a ship out of it, your ship will be much slower and slower to turn than using standard or basic. So it's really about using your smarts on using the stuff the right way. But then yeah, that's how you go. You just start building your ship around things, and yeah, keep your core protected. That's very important. Same as your weapons computers. Once you start putting those down. There are other, and explore the blocks. Like I said, look at the crafting, StarMadeCrafting.com site that I showed earlier. I recommend experimenting in single player. In single player, you'll have creative mode where you'll have unlimited access to the blocks. And so there's some blast doors, so you can build doors in and out of your ship. There's also a Plex door, and like these armor types, Plex door is weaker than Blast doors. Blast doors has about the same rating as advanced armor, or has exactly the same ratings as advanced armor. And yeah, experiment from there. Another thing to note is once you start building around your ship like this, you'll notice I can't see. It's a bit hard because there's a wall in front of it. That's where you want a camera. So grab your camera and put it there, and as you can see, you can't see the wall. Press left or right arrow keys, and now I can see outside. Hold the left shift key and scroll with your mouse wheel to scroll in and out. Right shift key to go into this look around view. You can lock it into place by double tapping right shift, and then as you can see now, the view's sort of locked in. Double click again to get out of it, or switch cameras. So yeah, another important thing to do is remember to make sure you can see where you're going. You want to armour that too, because obviously if it gets blown up, you're going to have troubles. The thing to keep in mind is you basically get a one block grey strip here. So like I put that in front of there, you would think, oh, that's going to cover my view. But as you can see, I can see outside through that block there, because the camera will go through. Once I get it to about 2, or maybe 3. Oh, now it's going to make a liar out of me. Okay, they must have changed something here with how it renders, excuse me. Yeah, now it's starting to show the blocks, but you will get to a point where your camera can only see so far. So, yeah, keep that in mind. I suggest having a couple of different cameras. You can use those for point of view, perhaps. We can get different views from your ship. Or, even handier, use the rotate. And then you can look out the sides of your ship. Left and right mouse, left and right arrow keys. Just be aware though that it does change your controls of your ship depending on where you're viewing. They will basically stay the same. You can fire some weapons at items there. Another thing that you'll need is a rail docker. And this is so when it comes time to lock your ship at your station, you've got something to dock with. And that is, again, another one of those things that you want to put in the right place. As you can see there, the ship was moving, so stop your ship before you go into build mode, or otherwise you could have some problems. This is basically like a lot of the blocks. It's got a particular way it can go, depending on which way you point it and the rail that you dock it to. Press G, and then any systems like guns and things you add, you can put on here. Let's get to a front view. And as you can see now, I've got the rail docker. Here's my station here. And this also applies to docking to other ships. If they've got a basic rail, which I shall show you in a second, is this block here. You can dock to it now. The way that this works is a couple of different ways. You can either fly up and just touch them and it acts like a magnet. It'll sort of magnetically snap you to it. Or my preferred method, which gets you docked quicker, is put it on your toolbar and then you fire it, and as you hit there, bang. As you can see, now we're docked and my ship has the protection of the home base. As well as an interesting fact, if you go into build mode, you'll actually inherit the power from the station. Now everything that's docked here is sharing power and shields. So if you look at my power rating there, over here, you can see my power has now gone up to 103 million, which obviously this ship does not have 103 million power. So yeah, the docked ships actually will act as a battery for each other, including the station that it's docked to, which can be a handy little thing to have, especially when it comes to base defences, keeping the power up when you're offline. And there you go, that's the basics of building ships. In my next video I will go into using weapons and building them on, various effects and how to use them. I hope this video has been helpful to you, and if you've enjoyed it and it's been helpful, please like and subscribe and keep watching this channel for further videos, and we shall get you being a pro StarMade player in no time, hopefully. Anyways, I'm Rabid, this is Unbreakable Gamers and a StarMade tutorial. You have a great day, night or afternoon depending on where you live. See you later.